Yo, you ever wonder why some relationships feel super fast and short-lived while others are deeper, slower, and more meaningful? It's like there's this hidden iceberg in every love story. What you see on the surface is just a tiny part of what's going on underneath. And for centuries, philosophers have been trying to crack this code. From Plato to Nietzsche, these thinkers weren't just writing dusty books. They give us a lot of knowledge and information about love that we can take to our relationships today. And so I've come up with the love iceberg. I've curated hundreds of years of advice into this love iceberg so that we can better navigate our relationships and love today. It's about understanding how we idealize people, chase quick thrills, avoid vulnerability. Philosophy breaks down these invisible patterns, shows us why fast love breaks and how slow love lasts. I like to think of it like philosophers are the OG relationship analysts. They just really use fancier words. Let's talk about parasocial relationships, or Baudrillard's hyperreality, which is basically a world where we can't tell the difference between what's real and what's fake. Have you ever fallen for someone online without really knowing them? That's how hyperreality works. We confuse the perfectly curated versions of people through their Instagram, what they post, with their real selves. We're in love with an image, not an actual human being. The fantasy of the perfect partner. Rousseau's romantic idealism. Jean-Jacques Rousseau believed the idea of a natural state, a pure, untamed version of humanity. But when it comes to love, that belief can mess with us. We chase this idea of perfect love untouched by flaws or sins, but real love is messy, it's not a fairy tale, and perfection means you might miss out on something real. Desire for validation over connection. Sartre's bad faith. So Jean-Paul Sartre. Jean-Paul Sartre, the existentialist philosopher, talked about something called bad faith. When we lie to ourselves, we avoid facing uncomfortable truths. In love, this looks like pretending we're deeply connected, when really we're performing a role. We chase validation, we chase likes, attention, admiration, but avoid vulnerability that real connection demands. We're not being honest with ourselves or others. So you've made it this far, you've made it past the dopamine rush from text. This is where love starts to get a little bit more real. Vulnerability and Soren Kierkegaard's leap of faith. Here's where it gets a little risky. Vulnerability is stepping into the unknown without guarantees. It's scary. Kierkegaard calls it the birthplace of love and connection. You're exposing parts of yourself you usually keep hidden, hoping the other person will catch you. It's what Kierkegaard, an existentialist philosopher, calls the leap of faith. Loving someone means taking that leap, knowing there's a chance you might fall. Trust building. Aristotle's philia. Aristotle, an ancient philosopher, believed that there are different kinds of love, and one of them, philia, the love of friendship, is one of the highest forms. It isn't really about grand gestures or passion. It's about kind of a mutual respect, shared values, and trust that's built over time. You're no longer just lovers, you're teammates, partners, and co-creators of a life together. It's slow, it's steady, and it's deeply grounded. Shared experiences. Phenomenology. Phenomenology is all about how we experience the world. Philosophers like Merleau believe that meaning isn't something we find, it's something that we create through our interactions. In love, this means it's not about just you or the other person anymore. It's about you both kind of navigating a life together, building a shared reality that's richer because you're in it together. Emotional intimacy, Levinas' interpersonal ethics. So philosopher Emmanuel Levinas said that truly seeing another person means recognizing their mystery, that they're fundamentally unknowable, and yet we care for them deeply because of that mystery and not spite of it. Emotional intimacy isn't about fully understanding someone. It's about being present with them. It's about respecting their complexity and embracing the fact that there's always going to be layers that you can't reach. Conflict navigation and Hegelian dialect. German philosopher Hegel believed in the dialect, which is putting two ideas that are conflicting and having them battle out with each other. And this kind of speaks to the idea that growth doesn't happen without conflict or confrontation. You know, you have to argue with your partner, and there's going to be moments where you have uncomfortable disagreements. But ultimately, this is where you can grow together. Each conflict isn't an end, it's a step forward. to refine and strengthen your connection. This is where we get to closer to the bottom of the iceberg, where true love really begins to show through. And this is where most people never get to. It's not flashy, it's not loud, it's quiet and slow. It's where love becomes something deeper than just passion. It's beyond connection. It becomes transcendent. Acceptance of imperfection, Taoism, and wabi-sabi. Taoism teaches us to flow with life's natural rhythms, and the Japanese philosophy of wabi-sabi teaches us to find the beauty in imperfection and ephemerality, things that aren't here forever. You stop trying to fix your partner or yourself, and instead you really embrace each other's flaws. You live in the moment. You might not always be together, whether that be distance. You enjoy the moment now, and you love each other now. Deep commitment. Simone de Beauvoir, the feminist philosopher, believed that love should never be about possession. Authentic love, she said, is a partnership where both people feel free to grow themselves. It's not about merging into one identity, but standing side by side, helping each other reach new heights without losing their own essence. Deep commitment isn't always about clinging on to each other. It's about choosing each other every day in freedom. Interdependence. Martin Buber's I-thou relationship. Most relationships start quite transactional. It's based on what you can get from each other, how this person will make you look, how much money someone has, if the person is hot enough. But philosopher Martin Buber, he describes a deeper connection, the I-thou relationship. And it's when you stop seeing your partner as just an object or a role, and instead you see them as a whole complex human being. Its relationship is rooted in respect and genuine reciprocity. You're no longer separate entities, you're interconnected, yet still find yourselves. Shared values and life goals. Maslow's self-actualization. At this level, love becomes a platform for mutual growth. In deep love, you're not just growing individually, you align your values together, your goals and your visions for the future. Love isn't just really a feeling anymore, it's a foundation for becoming the best versions of yourselves together. Unconditional love, agape. We reach agape, which means unconditional love, and it's a Christian concept. Agape is the highest form of love, selfless and pure. Stoic philosophers saw it as a love that transcends personal gain, focusing entirely on the well-being of the other person. It's not just about what they can give you, it's about how they make you feel. It's about loving them because they exist. This is the kind of love that endures no matter what life throws your way. Now we've entered one of the deepest and most mind-blowing parts of the iceberg, and down here love doesn't make sense. It transcends logic altogether. The paradox of intimacy, Zeno's paradox. Zeno was an ancient Greek philosopher, and he proposed a super interesting paradox. If you keep halving the distance between two objects, you'll never actually arrive. No matter how close we get to someone, we can never fully become them. There will always be a gap, a sliver of mystery. But maybe that's the point. The pursuit of closeness is what makes love beautiful, even if perfect intimacy is totally impossible. Temporal paradox of love, Bergson's duration versus measurable time. Henry Bergson, it's a fire name by the way, a French philosopher, distinguished between clock time and lived time. Fast love races by. Moments collapse into each other. You're totally infatuated with this human being. But slow love, it stretches time, making ordinary moments feel infinite. It's not just about how long you've been together, it's about how deeply you experience each second together. The ship of Theseus, identity and love. So for this one, imagine a ship. Over time, every plank and sail of the ship is replaced. Is it the same ship? This is the ship of Theseus, a thought experiment about identity. In love, we're constantly changing and growing and shedding our skin. But are we still the same people that fell in love years ago? Maybe not, but does it matter? Maybe love isn't about staying the same. Maybe it's about growing together, piece by piece. The infinite mirror, Nietzsche's eternal recurrence. Nietzsche proposed a super powerful question. If you had to live this life over again and again and again for eternity, would you? In love, this becomes even more intense. Would you choose this relationship again and again and again for eternity, knowing all the highs and lows? If the answer is yes, then maybe that's the deepest affirmation of love that there is. The absurdity of love, Camus' myth of Sisyphus. Albert Camus wrote about Sisyphus, the dude that pushes the boulder up the hill, but never really reaches the top of the hill. He's condemned to this eternal life of suffering. But Camus says, we must imagine Sisyphus happy. Love can feel like that, like a never-ending grind. That's where we can find meaning. Love isn't perfect, and that's exactly why it matters. Embracing the imperfection, embracing the arguments that we have, living in that moment. Quantum entanglement of souls. Here's where we get deep, and this is, I haven't reached here. I don't know anyone who's reached here. In quantum physics, there's a weird phenomenon called entanglement. Two particles, no matter how far apart they are instantly connected. What happens is one affects the other despite distance. Love can feel like that. Even when we're miles apart, whether it's long distance or whatever, emotionally we're still intertwined. Like our souls are part of the same cosmic equation. So here, love isn't just a feeling. It's a paradox, it's a mystery. It's a journey that defies all law together, and it embraces the unknown. After diving through all the layers, we come to the final and deepest layer. From shallow infatuation to the paradoxes of intimacy, we've reached the ultimate foundation, the space where words begin to fail completely, where it's almost futile to even continue trying to explain the next levels. Love becomes something beyond explanation, beyond words altogether. The ineffability of love. Wittgenstein Tractus Logico. Wittgenstein Tragic Logico. Wittgenstein Tractatus Logico Philosophicus. Wittgenstein, a 20th century philosopher, wrote, "Whereof one cannot speak, thereof one must be silent." What he meant was that the most profound truths in life, like beauty or ethics, and yes, love, can't fully be captured by language. The deepest forms of love aren't ones that we can describe. They're the ones we feel in those quiet moments, when words only cheapen their meaning. Sometimes silence, I believe, says more than 1,000 I love yous. Non-duality in love. Advaita, fucking what? How do you say this shit? Advaita Vedanta and Buddhist Sunyata. In Advaita Vedanta, an ancient Indian philosophy, there's the idea of non-duality, that beneath all appearances, there's no true separation between the self and the other. Similarly, Buddhist philosophy speaks of sunyata, the concept of emptiness, where all things are interconnected, and the boundaries between all things are simply illusions. At the deepest level, love isn't just about you or me, it's about the dissolving of those lines, merging into a unified whole, where we're no longer separate beings, but part of something bigger. It's not just I love you, it's just love. In the end, love is both the simplest and most complex thing in the universe. It can't be explained or dissected or analyzed, even though, I'm doing it right now. Its truest essence lies really just beyond that. It's in the spaces between words, it's in the silences, it's between heartbeats. It's where you and I cease to exist. And maybe, just maybe, that's all we ever need to know. And finally, I'll leave us with this one. Henry's Law, the most important of them all. Nah, I'm just playing. I came up with it though, and I think it's kind of creative. The depth of emotional connection in a relationship is inversely proportional to the speed at which it develops. Think about that. Think about that. In simple terms, the faster you fall, maybe the shorter it lasts, the more likely you are to stay at the surface. It's like microwaving a frozen dinner, yo. Sure, it's quick, but it's not satisfying. Give me a steak or a sweet green or something. I don't know, give me something healthy. But when you take your time, when you let love simmer, allowing trust and vulnerability to unfold, allowing each partner to grow, that's when love turns into something deeper, more meaningful, and more importantly, the most enduring. Slow love isn't just a vibe, it's a strategy. I don't know about that one. Thanks for watching. Peace out, y'all. Love all y'all. Love you, supporters. Oh my God.